Welcome back to Access Anime. My name is Henshin Ikeda, and I'll be doing a walkthrough review of Majestic Prince Episode 9. Now, if you remember from last episode, we find out Team Rabbits and Team Doberman have met up in the front lines, while Izuru is now in a duel with Jared. Now, I should also point out, Izuru left Asagi in charge of Team Rabbits, which it makes a lot of sense, but as for Izuru and Jared defeats Izuru. I did not see that coming. Now, moving on past that, at the end of the episode, we find out the GDF Army's laser beam has been destroyed. And that's where the episode ends. And I'll have my final thought and rating at the end of the clip, so stay tuned. But let's dive right on in. So we open up this episode with Izuru. Now, Izuru is back at his home base, licking his wounds after being defeated by Jared. Now, Izuru has been ordered not to tell anybody about what he saw, about his duel in general, about finding out the true identity of the Woolgru race, being human. So apparently Izuru now knows that the Woolgru race are humans, and he can't tell anyone about it because he's been ordered not to, which makes no sense. I smell a cover-up. I mean, why would you order your subordinate not to tell anybody about what he saw? You just won. Your mission was a success. I mean, yes, Izuru was defeated, but the army, I should say, the GDF army was a success. Whatever they did mission-wise, it was a success because they won. Why suppress what Izuru knows? We have no idea. But moving on past that, we find out the Woolgru up and decided to retreat. So the Woolgru had the upper hand and they retreated. They destroyed the GDF army's laser beam. They were able to hold out. They destroyed half of the GDF army's forces, and yet the Woolgru army in general, or should I say the Woolgru Empire, decided to retreat, which makes no sense. But again, that's where we open up with. Moving on past that, we are thrown with a little bit of information about the GDF forces. Apparently, the GDF forces have lost 47% of their army, which does not sound like a victory in my opinion. I mean, if you lose half of your forces defending or destroying something, I know the object is to complete the mission, but if you lose half of your forces, how is that a victory? You lost your forces, you lost your big toy, the laser beam. I'm seeing a lot of negatives here. Show me the positives, please. Okay, yes, your mission was a success. You destroyed the planet, or should I say, you destroyed the enemy base, but you lost half of your forces. I'm sorry, that does not sound like a victory in my opinion. Now, moving on past that, we are taking to a little cutscene with Izuru. Now, Izuru meets up with his commanding officer, Rin. Now, Rin is telling Izuru to shut his mouth, don't tell anybody about what he saw, about his duel, about the Woolgru being human. So he can't tell anybody about anything, and it's kind of pissing him off because he has so many questions. Now, while Izuru is talking to his commanding officer known as Rin, she has a writing cropped on her desk, and she's like hitting it down, and I thought it was kind of, I don't know, it was a turn on to see her do that. But, this commanding officer known as Rin, she's an asshole. Again, this is Izuru's former instructor, and she points out to Izuru, I'm no longer your instructor, I'm your commanding officer. And I was like, Izuru, turn around and tell your commanding officer, well, I'm no longer your student, I'm your subordinate, and I can walk out any goddamn time I fucking want. But he doesn't say that, which, you know what, that's what I would have done. I mean, come on. If you're no longer my instructor and I'm no longer your student, then maybe you should show me some respect, because I'm the one piloting that big-ass mecha outside that could probably kill you in a couple seconds, so maybe you should be nice to me. Just maybe. Now, moving on past that, we are taking to a little cutscene with Simon. Now, Simon is watching replays of what Izuru went through. So apparently when Izuru was fighting Jared, that little duel, that one-on-one duel, it was being recorded. Now, Simon is watching the recording. Now, it's being translated by an unknown woman that's right next to him, I guess. So now we know what Jared was telling or saying to Izuru in their duel, which still doesn't make a lot of sense because we really don't care. I mean, Izuru lost the duel. What could Jared possibly say to Izuru that would have a lot of influence on this situation? We really don't know. But again, an unknown woman is right next to Simon, and she's translating what Jared is saying in the replay, which again, we really don't know a lot about this woman, so we really can't draw any conclusions. I mean, is she part of the Woolgru race? Is she a spy? We really don't know. Who the hell is this woman? But she happens to know Izuru. That's one thing we do know about this woman. She knows Izuru. That's it. We don't even know her damn name. Where she's from, what side she's on. I mean, we can assume she's probably on the GDF Army's side, of course, or Simon's side. Whatever side that may be, of course. Now, moving on past that, we are taken to a little cutscene with Asagi, and we're in Asagi's room. And he's kind of depressed, you know, because his own pit crew, the little girl that's in his pit crew called him worthless, you know, a crappy pilot. And I'm like, well, if a little girl said I was a crappy pilot and I was flying a big-ass mecha and I survived a mission, I would probably bitch slap her or say, is your mother single? Something, you know, something bogus, something, you know, that would piss off a little girl more or less. But you know what, I digress. Again, we're in Asagi's room, and the rest of the Team Rabbits is also in Asagi's room, minus Izuru, of course. And again, he's with the rest of the group, and they're kind of reminiscing about the mission. And I thought that was kind of lame because you guys won, plain and simple. But that's all I can really say about that. Nothing too special about that scene. But we do find out, although Asagi was the temporary leader, he was pretty good, you know? He's not really, you know, bragging about how much of a leader he was, but, I mean, he was finally the leader of something that was important, and yet no one's really making a big deal about it. Now, moving on past that, while in Asagi's room, Kei walks out. So the girl, which is part of Team Rabbits known as Kei, she walks out, she leaves the room to check on Izuru because Izuru is nowhere to be found, and you would assume since Izuru is part of Team Rabbits, he might want to, you know, share about what happened during his duel, maybe talk to them about something. But no one can find Izuru, so Kei leaves the room to find Izuru, which, you know, sounds to me that Izuru and Kei may have a thing going on. Maybe that's just me. You know, I see a little drama. I'm making the assumption there's something going to happen between them. Now, Izuru is in the exam room. Apparently, everyone's being told that Izuru is in the exam room, which, no, he's not. He's not in the exam room. No, he's not. He was talking to his commanding officer, which told him to shut the hell up. Don't tell anyone about what you went through. Which doesn't make any sense, because if you keep that kind of shit bottled up, it's going to explode on you eventually, right? But anyways, Kei does find Izuru. He's by a fountain, and I guess she was trying to cheer him up. And eventually Izuru, he has a run-in with that unknown woman that was with Simon. Now, apparently Izuru does know this girl. She was also on that little resort, that little swimming resort that they were in, where the butler beat the crap out of him. So Izuru does know that unknown woman, and he chases after her. And Kei's either jealous, pissed off, or God knows what. She's just not herself. She was very flabbergasted. Yeah, I'm bringing it back. But again, Kei is just pissed off. She came out all that way to cheer up Izuru, and Izuru walks away and chases after another woman. Burned. Big burn there. Now, moving on past that, we're taken to a little cutscene with Simon. Apparently, Simon is holding a top-secret meeting with Team Rabbits. I'll say this one more time. Simon is holding a top-secret meeting with Team Rabbits, which I thought was kind of weird because why just Team Rabbits? What about Team Doberman? Isn't that your other special team? But apparently not. So Simon is being seen in a private meeting that's top secret with Team Rabbits, and he's showing Team Rabbits images of Jared. So now, I guess all of Team Rabbits now knows exactly what Izuru knows, what he went through, like all the replay. They know that the Woolgru race are humans, or in this case, they're not human beings, they're just a different version of humans, which doesn't make sense because I don't know too many versions of humans other than human beings, but you know what? There's always a first time for everything, so, you know, to each their own. But again, Simon is showing pictures of Jared to Team Rabbits, which, again, why? You told Izuru to shut the hell up, and now you're sharing all this information with everyone. So, was the previous meeting that Rin had with Izuru pointless? I think so. Plain and simple. But again, Simon is telling Team Rabbits that you're fighting, your opponents, your enemies, known as the Woolgru, are of a different species of humans. And that's it? That was the top secret meeting? That makes no sense. And then he also points out the GDF's mechas, or their big ass mechas that they've been using. Well, their technology is from the enemy. So it gets better. So apparently the GDF army, all that technology they have that went into their mechas and stuff, was stolen, or shared in this case, from the Wilgru? What? That makes no sense. I mean, really? So who's the spy in this case? So apparently, in a nutshell, Team Rabbids has been piloting the Wilgru fighters. I'll say this one more time. In a nutshell, Team Rabbids, their mechas, are Wilgru fighters. So they've been piloting the enemy ships, or the enemy mechas in this case. That feels weird to say that. I mean, so the GDF army, although they redesigned the mechas that were stolen, or in this case redesigned from the Wilgru fighter, the Wilgru mechas, they're still different in some cases. But it's stolen technology. It's not your own. I don't know. It makes me feel kind of bad. I'm like, so the GDF army kind of is weak as shit. They don't even have their own technology. Wow. That's all I can say about that. Now, moving on past that to the end of the episode, we find out Izuru, he's digging for answers. Because now that he's with Simon, and they're talking, Team Rabbids is around, Izuru starts to dig around for some answers about the Wilgru in general. Yeah, it didn't really go anywhere. However, we do see that woman yet again run into Izuru. So that was definitely worth mentioning. Simon does tell Team Rabbids all this information they obtained, the technology, the translation of what Jared was saying, was all thanks to a defector. The defector was the woman that Izuru knows, and this woman who knows Izuru, of course. And yeah, that's where the episode ends. As for my final thoughts, well, first of all, who is this woman from the Wilgru? She's a spy. She's a defector. What's her name? What's her connection with Izuru? We still do not know. And moving on past that, why did Jared let Izuru free? Why did he not kill them then and there after their duel ended? We still don't know, and it's a mind-boggler. I know he said something about prey, I don't care if Jared thinks Izuru is the fox in this case. He's chasing after his fox, his prey. But it's a war. Fucking kill him and be done with it. But again, that ends it for my final thoughts. As per my rating, 3 out of 5. I'm giving this a 3 out of 5 because we were given a little bit of information, which was what we were hoping for, but it was just a little bit of information. I mean, now we know that the mechas that the GDF army uses for the Team Rabbids squad is actually stolen technology from the Wilgru. Definitely worth mentioning. I'm glad now we know that, but so what? All that proves is that the GDF army doesn't have their own technology, that they're a weak fucking race, their army sucks. That's all it proves. If it wasn't for the damn defector, this woman that defected, they wouldn't have shit. What's that say about the GDF army? Just putting that out there. Was there any drama, or in this case, a dramatic build-up between Kay and Izuru and this woman? That was the build-up. And again, final rating, 3 out of 5. That is it for my walkthrough review of Majestic Prince Episode 9. Definitely comment down below. Let me know, thumbs up, thumbs down. Definitely subscribe. Check me out on Twitter and follow me if you like. Let me know what you thought of this episode, and let me know what you think's going to happen in the next episode that's coming out. But again, guys, that ends it for now, and I got to go, and I got to hit the bricks. And before I go, I got to say it, and I always say it. You can't stop the access, but you can watch the feed. I'll see you later, guys.